How a woman really reacts when she realizes you're no longer interested. Old Stoic wisdom. What truly happens when a woman realizes you've lost interest? It's not what most expect. Her reaction isn't just emotional, it's revealing, sometimes profound. This moment can shift the entire dynamic of your relationship. When a woman senses that your attention has withdrawn, her response uncovers more than just her feelings. It exposes the nature of her attachment, her expectations, and your influence. This shift often stirs something deeper: surprise, confusion, maybe even pursuit. And in that moment, you learn where you really stand, not just in her heart, but in your own self-worth. Understanding her reaction isn't about manipulation, it's about clarity. It's a form of Stoic self-mastery. When you stop chasing and start observing, you gain a quiet power. Stay with me, because grasping this principle might give you the edge you never knew you had. 1. The initial shock of losing control. The moment she realizes you're no longer emotionally circling her orbit, something powerful happens. Shock, raw and real, hits her like a wave, but don't mistake it for mere surprise. No, this is deeper. It's the abrupt collapse of a carefully crafted illusion that she had control, that she could read you like a book, that your heart played by her rules. Up until now, you were the constant. You showed up, you cared, you were available, responsive, tethered to the emotional leash she may not have even realized she was holding. But when that steady warmth fades, when your energy vanishes like smoke in cold air, her world tilts. Don't ignore this. This is where the entire dynamic flips. That sense of certainty she clung to, gone. Certainty comforts. It lulls the mind. It tells her he's mine. He's there. I've got this. But suddenly, your silence speaks louder than your words ever did, and your stillness becomes thunder in her thoughts. Now she's spiraling, not in anger, but in reflection. She wonders, did I miss something? When did he start slipping away? What changed? These aren't idle thoughts. These are deep cuts into her self-perception, her understanding of the connection. It's not just that you pulled back, it's why you did it that haunts her. And here lies the brilliance of old Stoic wisdom: say nothing. Don't rush to explain. Don't patch her confusion with comfort. You must let her stew in it. Let the discomfort gnaw a little, because this discomfort is the beginning of transformation for both of you. This is the moment you embrace your iron mind. You resist the old impulse to rescue, to reassure, to give her certainty back. That's not your job anymore. Be the mountain she can no longer move. Don't break your silence just because her questions are loud. That uncertainty she feels, that's not a flaw, it's a feature. Let it work. Let it do what no amount of chasing ever could. You must understand the absence of your validation now becomes her obsession. The man who once gave freely is now withholding with intention. That's power. Earned, not begged for. And it makes her rethink everything. This isn't about being manipulative. It's about reclaiming your center. Old Stoic wisdom tells us he who controls his emotions controls the dynamic. She had the lead when you were reactive, when your heart was on display like a glass case. But now you've stepped back. You've grown. You've embodied the Stoic principles that command quiet strength and patient observation. And in doing so, you've become unpredictable. Not erratic, but untouchable. That's the difference. And she feels it in her bones. Her thoughts begin to orbit you now, not because of what you said, but because of what you're not saying, not because of what you do, but because of what you're no longer doing. The imbalance unsettles her and awakens something else: curiosity, desire, accountability. That's the real alchemy. It's not in what you show, it's in what you withhold. But hear this clearly, don't fake it. You must truly shift. This isn't about pretending to not care. It's about becoming the kind of man who no longer needs her certainty to validate his worth. You're living by a higher code now. This is an iron mind in motion. This is the calm, commanding presence of a man no longer driven by impulse, but by Stoic principles. She may chase, she may change, or she may disappear, but none of that defines you. Because the real power is this: You've remembered who you are, and you've stopped giving it away. 2. Her need to reclaim validation. Validation, for many women, isn't just emotional comfort. It's air. It's that invisible but vital force that lets her know she still holds weight in your world. So when she senses your attention quietly drifting away, even without confrontation or cruelty, something happens. A shift, a tightening, a creeping sense of uncertainty that wraps around her thoughts like ivy. That void you've created. It doesn't go unnoticed. It rattles her, because it isn't just about missing your presence. It's about missing the feeling of being wanted. And that, my friend, is where her instinct kicks in, to reclaim validation like a queen returning to her throne. But don't be fooled. This isn't just about love or longing. This is about control. It's about restoring balance in a dynamic she thought she dominated. The moment she feels that grip loosen, you'll start to notice changes. Not huge fireworks, at least not at first. No, it begins subtly. She'll test the waters with small, seemingly innocent messages. Hey, how have you been? Or I saw something today that reminded me of you. That's not nostalgia. That's reconnaissance. She's not trying to reminisce. She's trying to measure, to see if the door's still open, to see if you'll lean forward or stay seated. These aren't random texts. These are emotional sonar pings, searching for signs of life. And if she doesn't get the reaction she expects, if your reply is calm, brief, or absent, she might raise the stakes. Suddenly, she drops little landmines into your conversations, mentions of other men, new friends. Her tone shifts. She plays indifferently, acts like your absence means nothing. But don't fall for the act. That isn't real detachment, it's theatre. She's watching you closely, hoping to provoke something, anything, that proves she still has sway over your emotions. Here's where most men crash and burn. They take the bait. They respond emotionally. They over-explain. They try to re-establish connection, thinking she's genuinely reaching out from a place of care. Don't do it. That's not what this moment is for. This isn't about her needing you. It's about her needing to feel like she still affects you. And if you give her that satisfaction too easily, the balance resets and you're right back where you started, giving, chasing, hoping. This is the moment to invoke Stoic rules. Stay grounded. Be still. Don't be cruel, but don't be eager. Don't validate just because she pokes. Let her sit with the discomfort of not knowing. Let her effort feel unrewarded. This isn't a game. This is practical stoicism in action. You must hold your frame with quiet power. Speak less. Reveal nothing. Show her that you are no longer the man she could read, decode, and predict. The magic isn't in being cold. It's in being calm. The moment she feels she can no longer stir your emotional waters, her perception of you shifts. She realizes the old map no longer leads to the treasure. That mystery, that unknowability, becomes your strength. She has to work harder now, not to win you back, but to understand you. That's the real shift. That's where her curiosity morphs into attraction all over again. And that, brother, is why you don't fold. That's why Stoic rules exist, not just to keep you sane, but to make you unshakable. Let her reach. Let her wonder. Let her chase a man who's mastered practical stoicism and no longer needs her validation to define his worth. Be that man and watch how everything changes. If this message hits home, like the video, share it with a brother who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more practical stoicism and relationship insights for high-value men. Your power is in your calm, your strength is in your stillness. Comment to remember, I hold my frame, I do not chase validation. Let that be your daily reminder. Drop it in the comments to anchor the mindset, and let the world know you're walking with Stoic rules now. 3. The curiosity that drives her to reevaluate. When a woman realizes you're no longer interested, something profound happens, and it's not what she expected. At first, there's confusion, even denial. But then, curiosity strikes like a spark in dry grass. It doesn't fade. It burns. And that curiosity drives her to reevaluate everything. She starts searching for the reasons. not just about you, but about herself. She needs to understand what shifted. The man who once pursued her, is now calm, distant, unmoved. It's not desperation. It's analysis. It's an obsession in disguise. She replays your conversations like a detective reviewing evidence. She questions her friends, rewinds time in her mind, searching for what she missed. Did I take him for granted? Was I blind to his value? This loop spins faster the longer you remain silent. And the brilliance of it, you don't chase, you don't plead, you don't even explain. Stoicism wins. You must understand. Your stillness, your silence, your lack of need for her validation is the mirror in which she sees her own reflection. And it's not always flattering. Epictetus taught, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. She's now facing the consequence of her judgments. Your absence becomes a presence louder than any words you could speak. She starts to remember your strength, your leadership, your quiet integrity, your masculine calm. The very traits she once overlooked are now under a spotlight. This is the power of the Stoic path. This is how paths of wisdom are walked, not with noise, but with discipline, with detachment, with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth. Let her wonder. Let her reflect. Let her chase clarity while you chase mastery. You are not trying to win her back. You are trying to win yourself. This is your moment of stoicism. You've stopped reacting. You've stopped explaining. You've chosen power over approval. And that choice sends a shockwave through her reality. You've become the lesson. You've become a mystery. And men. This is where true victory lives, not in her response, but in your evolution. Your discipline tells her everything she needs to know. Don't break the silence. Don't seek her understanding. Don't give her the satisfaction of an explanation. Let curiosity do the heavy lifting. Let her ask the questions while you walk further along the paths of wisdom. She thought she had figured it out. Now, you're a riddle that haunts her quiet moments. That is the reward of self-control. That is the strength of the Stoic man. You didn't lose her. You discovered yourself. And in that discovery, you won. You mastered the moment. You stood firm while the emotional storm passed. She's beginning to see you through new eyes. But it's too late, because you've already moved forward. The game changed when you stopped playing it. Let this be a lesson in modern masculinity. In a world that begs for instant validation and emotional chaos, you must become calm. You must be the mountain. Your power is in not reacting. Your edge is not needed. Your freedom is in not explaining. That's how a Stoic wins. That's how Epictetus wins. That's how you win. This is the wisdom passed through ages, from the ancients to you. Live it, own it, walk the path. 4. The role of ego understanding. Her reaction through Stoic eyes. Don't underestimate the ego. It's not just a man's burden. A woman's ego, especially in matters of the heart, is a powerful and subtle force. It's woven tightly into her sense of control, identity, and validation. When she feels that grip slipping, when she realizes you're no longer orbiting her emotional sun, something begins to unravel inside her, not in the loud, theatrical way you might expect, but in quiet, calculated ripples. Her mind, trained to associate your attention with her importance, hits a wall. Suddenly, that mirror of certainty cracks. And here's the twist, it's not about love or connection, it's about control, dominance, and influence. Old Stoic wisdom teaches us that ego thrives in predictability. The moment you withdraw that warmth, that readiness to engage, her ego is forced to confront a version of herself she has long kept hidden, the version without your validation. That alone sends tremors through her emotional foundation. Expect resistance. She may toss out barbed remarks, the kind cloaked in sarcasm but designed to pierce. She may flaunt confidence that feels just a little too staged. She might even try to reignite your interest by stoking the fires of jealousy. But don't flinch. Don't rise to the bait. That's her ego doing the talking. And your reaction is the oxygen it feeds on. Be the iron mind. Be the calm within the storm. This is where Stoic principles separate the man from the boy. Your stillness isn't indifference. It's discipline. Your silence isn't passive. It's powerful, because when you hold the line, when you don't dance to the rhythm of her ego, something rare happens. She begins to reflect, not instantly, but slowly, like water cutting through stone. The absence of your emotional availability isn't just confusing, it's disarming. Her ego, once puffed up with certainty, begins to lose steam. And it's in that vacuum, that space of silence and distance, where introspection sneaks in. You must understand her need for control isn't malicious, it's instinctual. The ego doesn't like to be ignored. It needs to feel essential. But when you walk with old Stoic wisdom, when you resist the urge to explain yourself, to chase, to fix, everything changes. Your restraint says more than any dramatic exit ever could. It challenges her self-image in a way that a fight never will. And make no mistake, this isn't about playing games. This is about mastering yourself. Your role isn't to punish or provoke, it's to hold the line with dignity. That is your strength. That is a Stoic principle in action. Your detachment, when rooted in clarity, not bitterness, becomes a quiet revolution. And over time, that storm in her mind settles. Her actions, once guided by ego, start to shift toward truth. Whether she admits it or not, she sees the contrast, and that contrast is everything. So don't backpedal. Don't explain yourself to soothe her discomfort. Let her ego unravel. Let the drama bounce off you like arrows off a shield. Be the iron mind, unshaken by emotional tides. Because once the ego fades, what's left is the truth. And in truth, you always win. If you find today's content useful to you, don't forget to share your feelings and lessons with us. Or simply comment, "Very cool." It's a great encouragement for our channel makers. Thank you very much. 5. The turning point. When she feels the void. Don't underestimate silence. That's your greatest weapon now. No noise, not drama, silence. It has weight, depth, and it leaves an impression no clever line ever could. When she realizes you're no longer clinging, chasing, or orbiting her emotional universe, there's a stillness that settles in. At first, she'll shrug it off, pretend she doesn't notice. He's probably busy, she'll say to herself, sipping her coffee with a forced nonchalance. But as the hours turn to days and the days start stacking, the silence begins to speak. And what does it says? It echoes louder than words. That's when she starts feeling the void you left behind. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet vacuum where you used to be. The good morning texts, the way you noticed her mood when no one else did. Your laugh, steady and easy. The way you listened, not just to her words, but to what she didn't say. The way you stood like a wall she could lean on, without asking for anything in return. She remembers. Not all at once, of course. These realizations come like the tide, slow, creeping, undeniable. And each time the wave hits, it brings with it a sting. You're not there anymore. That absence is a mirror. And in it, she starts seeing herself, not the image she carefully curated, but the real one. She begins to replay her own actions. The way she dismissed your value, the way she tested your patience, the way she believed, perhaps wrongly, that you'd always be there. No matter how far she pushed, that is the turning point. The silence you left behind becomes louder than any argument you could have made. That's practical stoicism in action. Not by force, but by absence. Your job now, do absolutely nothing. Don't explain. Don't clarify. Don't try to correct the story forming in her head. That's not your burden anymore. You must let her feel the full weight of what she's lost. This is not about revenge. This is about gravity. And gravity always pulls. Let it. She needs to sit in that stillness. Let her feel the empty space where you used to laugh, speak, show up. That silence is doing what words never could. It's teaching her. The old masters knew this. Stoic rules aren't about cold detachment. They're about holding your line with dignity. You must embody that now. That is your test. You're not punishing her. You're honoring yourself. The space you leave is sacred. You filled it with presence, strength, attention, and now she gets to feel what it's like without all that. That's the power of practical stoicism, steady, composed, deliberate. You don't chase, you don't correct, you don't perform, you simply exist, and your absence becomes your message. Remember the saying, what you tolerate, you encourage. Well, now you tolerate nothing. That's Stoic rule number 1. Don't betray your value for temporary peace. You walked away with silence, and now it speaks volumes. Let her listen, let her feel, let the stillness teach. Because if there's ever a moment where transformation begins, it's right here, in the void, and the man who understands that he doesn't need to say a word. 6. Why silence amplifies your value. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. It's not about games. It's not about manipulation. It's a declaration, a statement of control, a signal that you have reclaimed your dignity and chosen the path of inner strength. When a woman realizes you're no longer chasing, no longer pleading, no longer present in the ways she took for granted, something shifts. Deeply. Silence sends shockwaves through her expectations. It pierces through her pride and unsettles her comfort. Suddenly, the man she once knew, the one who over-explained, who over-given, is no longer there, and in his place stands a man of stoic resolve, a man who walks the paths of wisdom, who understands that in detachment lies power. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your silence is your reaction, controlled, calculated, confidence. When you go silent, you flip the script, you interrupt her narrative. You deny her the validation she once received without question. Now she must sit in the quiet echo of her own choices. She must wonder. She must have doubts. Did I misjudge him? Was he more valuable than I realized? The absence of your presence becomes louder than any word you could ever speak. Your past actions, your strength, your loyalty, your calm under fire, now return to her memory in full force. They replay in her mind like scenes from a film she didn't know was ending. That's the moment your value multiplies. That's when the silence begins to speak for you, and it says, I never needed to prove myself. I already did. This is where Stoicism wins. This is how you rise above the noise and the need. Don't break, don't explain. Don't return to the pedestal she once placed you on only to knock you off later. Stand your ground. Stand in silence. Let her feel the gravity of your absence. The masculine frame is built not on pursuit, but on purpose. Let her feel that you have turned your energy inward, toward growth, toward goals, toward greatness. That is the power she underestimated. That is the void she never saw coming. And that is the moment you win. Modern life will try to convince you that silence is indifference. But true strength is quiet. True mastery doesn't announce itself. Let the world chase noise. You chase clarity. Let the world seek attention. You seek direction. You must walk the paths of wisdom. You must embody the discipline of Epictetus. He taught that freedom is found not in controlling others, but in mastering the self. That's your mission now. Don't chase. Don't explain. Don't beg. Win. In every breath of silence, you reclaim your value. Every day you say nothing. You build mystery, power, and presence. So what should you do? Stay silent. Stay strong. Focus on the mission. Let her feel what life is without you. Don't rush back. Let the silence work. Let it remind her. Let it echo. Let it roar. That is how you win with Stoicism. That is how you lead with power. That is how you rise, unshaken, unbothered, unbreakable. Remember, silence is not absence. It is presence, amplified. It is your proof that you no longer seek her approval because you found your purpose. And in that silence, she will feel it, loud and clear. 7. The emotional tension builds. Don't underestimate the power of your silence. When you withdraw your attention, especially after being a consistent presence in her world, the emotional tension doesn't just simmer, it builds like a storm behind her eyes. It's not just about missing your voice or the sound of your footsteps coming through the door. It's the disorienting space left by your absence that starts to gnaw at her confidence. That's where the old Stoic wisdom kicks in. The less you say, the more she thinks. Your distance becomes an unsolvable equation in her mind, and it chips away at the certainty she once wore like armor. Be still, and you'll watch how noise erupts on her end. She feels it all: regret, curiosity, guilt, regret for not recognizing your worth when you stood quietly by her side, curiosity that turns invasive. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, whether you found peace without her. That curiosity, it stings. It's not casual. It claws at her in quiet moments. And the guilt. Oh, the guilt. Because she knows deep down she took you for granted. You were the dependable one, the steady one, the man who carried Stoic principles in his soul, who didn't react to every emotional flare-up, but instead observed, calculated, endured. And now you're silent. That's not just unsettling, it's haunting. Every song on the radio becomes a trigger. Every street corner where you once shared a laugh becomes a landmine. Even a casual conversation about someone else's breakup will push her right back into a montage of memories where you were the anchor. That's the emotional tension at work. It doesn't scream. It whispers relentlessly. You're not chasing. You're not explaining. You're living the iron mind life. And that rattles her, because for the first time, she's not in control of the narrative. She doesn't get to label you emotional or clingy or too attached. You're unreadable, and that terrifies her. Here's the truth she doesn't want to admit. Women often react strongest, not when you chase, but when you vanish. When you stop playing the game and start living by the old Stoic wisdom that says, you must never beg for what should be freely given. That silence of yours, it isn't passive. It's powerful. It's a choice, a strategy, a reflection of a man who's mastered Stoic principles. And that power, the one she once overlooked, is now the very thing she's drawn to. Don't speak. Don't explain. Be the man who knows that emotional tension is a mirror. It shows her what she refused to see your value. Be still and let her unravel. Let the reminders do the work. The scent on a hoodie, the empty chair, the untouched coffee mug. She'll feel it in waves. You must not interrupt those waves. Stand firm in your silence, because every second you hold the line, she sees more clearly. You are no longer the man hoping for attention. You are the man she cannot ignore. A man forged by silence, guided by old Stoic wisdom, living with an iron mind. Don't flinch. Don't fold. This is the edge where attraction is reborn, where the past is re-evaluated, and where the man who once waited now walks away without a backward glance. Be him. 8. When curiosity turns into action. Don't be fooled by the subtle signs. When a woman starts to sense that you're no longer orbiting her world, curiosity is the first ember to flicker. And make no mistake, curiosity, once ignited, rarely dies quietly. It starts gently. She'll like a post here and there. Nothing flashy, just enough to let her shadow touch yours again. Then comes the casual text. Hey, how have you been translated? That means, why aren't you still thinking about me? And next, the small talk. Light, polite, familiar? She'll ask about your dog, your gym routine, the old coffee shop you both liked. On the surface, it seems harmless, but beneath there's a storm brewing. That's the shift. When curiosity turns into action, it's not random. It's the result of quiet torment, internal review, and a mirror she can't look away from. She's been replaying your absence like a film in her head, examining every moment, every silence, every memory. This isn't impulsive. It's calculated. Women reflect deeply when they realize something valuable might have slipped away. That is practical stoicism at work. On her side now. But you must remain composed, centered. This is your moment not to react, but to respond with the same stillness that made her chase in the first place. When she finally reaches out in earnest, how you handle it can either affirm your growth or erase it. Be light. That doesn't mean shallow. It means effortless. Don't chase. Don't ask probing questions. Keep the conversation flowing like water over stone. Be calm. Your calmness should reflect the Stoic rules you live by now. Rules that say emotional control is not weakness. It's power refined. Be slightly detached, not cold, not cruel, but grounded. like a man who's looked into the fire of loss and didn't flinch. That emotional distance doesn't push her away, it draws her in. Why? Because it shows her you've changed. You're no longer seeking her validation. You're living by practical stoicism, and that makes you rare. Understand this, she's not used to that. Most men scramble at the first sign of her interest returning. They get eager, reactive, over-eager. Don't. That is your test, and you must pass it. When you stay grounded, she realizes you're not the same man she once thought she had in her pocket. You've outgrown that version, and nothing makes her heart race like realizing you found peace without her. That's where Stoic rules win. Not through coldness, but through calm command. Remember the old saying, still waters run deep. That's you now. You've become a man with depth, with silence that says more than words ever could. You've become the man she can't predict, and that's exactly what compels her. Don't fall back into old patterns. Don't explain your silence. Let your composure speak louder than any text ever could. Be the man who knows that strength isn't in chasing, but in standing firm. That's not indifference. That's wisdom, practical stoicism in its purest form. If you found this insight valuable, like the video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more grounded Stoic wisdom. Drop a comment below to lock it in your mind. Comment to remember, silence with strength speaks louder than chasing with words. 9. Why emotional control wins every time. Emotional control is power. It's not just attractive, it's magnetic, unshakable, and undeniably masculine. When she tests you, by digging up old wounds, tossing subtle jabs, or name-dropping other men to trigger you, it's not the content of her words that matters. It's your reaction. That's the battlefield. That's where stoicism wins. Stand still. Be unmoved. Be the mountain in the storm, not the leaf in the wind. She wants to feel your strength, not in your outburst, but in your silence. Not in your defense, but in your calm. Let her see that you're unbothered. Let her feel that you're no longer seeking validation from her, or anyone. That is emotional control. That is power forged in the fire of discipline. That is walking the paths of wisdom. You must understand, when a woman realizes that you're no longer emotionally invested, no longer chasing her approval, her perception shifts instantly. You become a man of mystery, not desperation. A man who is choosing, not pleading. This shift creates intrigue, respect, and even longing. But more importantly, it sets you free. Free from emotional chains, free from manipulation, free from needing to prove your worth. No man is free, said Epictetus, who is not master of himself. Emotional control is your ticket to freedom, your shield against chaos, your compass on the paths of wisdom. Let's make it clear, losing your temper, reacting emotionally, or defending your worth never helps. It shows weakness. It shows instability. It tells the world you can be rattled. And if you can be rattled, you can be ruled. Don't give away that power. Don't react. Respond. Don't chase. Choose. Don't fall. Rise. She might expect fireworks. Give her ice. She might want drama. Show her peace. She might be fishing for a fight. Let her fish in silence. You must stand tall in the face of provocation, not to win her approval, but to win yourself. That is how stoicism wins. In today's world, full of noise, distraction, and emotional instability, a calm, centered man stands out like a lion among sheep. Most men react, few men reflect, most men chase, rare men choose, most men live in chaos. The wise man, the stoic man, walks the paths of wisdom with stillness in his soul. That man doesn't fear her emotions. He respects them, understands them, but refuses to be enslaved by them. You want to win in life. Master this. You want her respect. Control this. You want your peace guard this. Victory begins where control begins. Control your breath. Control your tongue. Control your reactions. Be firm. Be disciplined. Be intentional. Let your presence speak louder than your words. Women respond not to what you say, but to who you are when the pressure hits, when she pushes your buttons and finds no reaction. She sees the man who cannot be shaken, the man who has walked through fire, the man who has chosen the hard road, the man who knows the truth, the one who controls himself, controls everything. This is not just dating advice. This is life mastery. This is an ancient power. This is where Stoicism wins. So remember this. Emotional control isn't passive. It's aggressive stillness. It's warrior silence. It's kingly restraint. The old Stoics didn't teach weakness. They taught command. You don't become less of a man by not reacting. You become a stronger one. Don't let the world trick you into thinking chaos is power. Chaos is noise. Calm is controlled. Calm is clarity. Calm is dominance. Take this path. Own it. Walk it with purpose. That is the path of wisdom. That is how Epictetus would live. That is how you win. 10. The power of moving on gracefully. Don't confuse grace with weakness. Be clear, moving on gracefully doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means knowing that your peace, your purpose, and your dignity come first. That is old Stoic wisdom in motion. You don't storm off. You don't lash out. You simply stop feeding energy into what drains you. You walk, not run, away, with your head held high, because you understand the quiet strength behind choosing yourself. It's not revenge. It's not bitter. It's clear. It's a decision made by a man with an iron mind, a man who's not chasing affection, but living by Stoic principles. Control what you can, release what you can't, and never beg to be seen. And let me tell you, there's something wildly magnetic about a man who knows his worth and refuses to settle for crumbs. When she sees you pull back, not out of spite, but out of a deep and silent self-respect, she'll feel it. A woman can sense when the dynamic shifts. You're no longer orbiting around her. You've become the sun of your own system. She may not show it at first. She may even try to provoke you, test your resolve, or pretend it doesn't faze her. But trust me, inside, she's watching, wondering, second-guessing. And when she sees you thriving, when she sees that you're not just surviving, but living, focused on your goals, sharpening your edge, laughing without effort, walking into rooms with presence, discipline, and direction, it stings. That's the moment the tables turn. Not because you wanted to flip them, but because you learned to stand. And that's when admiration creeps in, maybe even regret. But by then, you've already reclaimed control. You're not out to punish her. You're not looking back, counting moments. You're forward-facing, driven by values that don't hinge on someone else's attention. That is the strength of old Stoic wisdom, the knowing that you don't have to announce your power to have it. You don't need validation when your life is full, your vision is clear, and your heart is guarded by purpose. You move on not because you're cold, but because you're finally warm enough from within. Let her sit with her silence. Let her wonder what happened to the man who once waited, explained, hoped. He grew up. He leaned into discomfort. He was honest. He stopped negotiating with chaos. And now, he decides. That's the gift of walking away with grace. It puts you in the seat of choice. Not her, not anyone else, just you. And that quiet voice inside you that whispers, you are enough. You always were. So, don't chase. Don't explain. Don't perform. Be still. Be grounded. Be sharp. Let your absence do the talking, and your growth be the punctuation. And in that silence, you'll hear the echo of something deeper than validation. It's the sound of becoming. A man governed not by moods, but by mission. That is a Stoic principle. That is the iron mind. That is the man who moves on, not out of ego, but out of honor. Thanks for watching. If this video gave you value, hit the like button and subscribe for more insights like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. See you in the next one.